If you are 65 or older, or if you are supporting a parent, grandparent, or a loved one who is retired here in the United States, then what I am about to share with you in the next few minutes could literally save you hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars on your federal tax return this year. The IRS has implemented new filing rules specifically designed for seniors and retirees, and the window to take advantage of them is closing fast. April 15th is the federal tax filing deadline, and right now, millions of older Americans, including many immigrants and new arrivals who have worked hard for decades to build a life here, are either not aware of these changes or are unsure how they apply to them. So stay with me, because I am going to walk you through everything you need to know in plain, clear language, step by step. Welcome back to Immigration News Today. I am glad you are here. This channel exists to keep you informed, prepared, and protected, whether you are navigating immigration paperwork, understanding your rights as a resident or citizen, or, as we are doing today, making sure you understand changes in U.S. law that directly affect your financial well-being. Tax season touches everyone, and for seniors and retirees in particular, the rules that just went into effect for this filing season are genuinely significant. So let us get into it. First, let me give you a little background on where all of this is coming from, because understanding the why behind a new rule always helps you apply it with more confidence. The legislation at the center of today's discussion is called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That is its official name. This law, signed into effect and now being implemented for the 2025 tax year, which is the return you are filing right now in early 2026, introduced several new tax provisions for working Americans and for older taxpayers. The IRS has formally confirmed these changes on their official website at irs.gov, and they have published detailed guidance for seniors on what is new this filing season. What I will do today is break that guidance down for you in a way that is easy to understand, especially if tax law is not your area of expertise. So, what is the biggest change? The headline item for seniors and retirees this season is a brand new deduction called the Senior Bonus Deduction. This is a separate, additional deduction worth $6,000 per eligible individual. That is not a typo. $6,000 that can be subtracted from your taxable income before the IRS calculates what you owe. And if you are married and both you and your spouse are 65 or older, that doubles to $12,000 for your household. Now let me say that again clearly, because I want to make sure this really lands. This is on top of your regular standard deduction, and it is on top of the existing extra standard deduction that seniors have always been able to claim. This is an entirely new layer of tax relief. The IRS has confirmed this through their official guidance on the One Big Beautiful Bill Provisions page, and outlets like Kiplinger and CNBC have verified and reported on the details as well. Now let us talk about who qualifies, because I know that is the question on everyone's mind. To be eligible for this new $6,000 senior bonus deduction, you must turn 65 on or before December 31st of the tax year you are filing for. For this year, that means you need to have turned 65 on or before December 31st, 2025. Here is a small but important note that the IRS specifically highlights. If your birthday falls on December 31st itself, you still qualify for the full deduction for that entire tax year. The rule applies individually. So in a married couple, each spouse must independently meet the age requirement. If only one of you is 65 or older, only one $6,000 deduction applies. Now here is where income plays a role, and I want you to pay close attention to this part because it affects whether you receive the full deduction or a reduced one. The IRS uses what is called your Modified Adjusted Gross Income, often abbreviated as MAGI, to determine eligibility. For single filers, the deduction begins to phase out once your MAGI exceeds $75,000. For married couples filing jointly, that phase-out threshold starts at $150,000. What this means practically is that if your income is below those levels, you receive the full benefit. If your income is above those thresholds, the deduction gradually decreases. According to the IRS and confirmed by reporting from sources like Finance Buzz and Mercer Advisors, for lower-income retirees who rely primarily on Social Security and modest pension income, this new deduction may effectively eliminate a significant portion, or even all, of their federal income tax liability for the year. That is a meaningful and real change. Let us spend a moment talking about Social Security income specifically, because this is something many immigrant seniors ask about, and understandably so. Many of you have worked here, paid into the Social Security system, and are now receiving those benefits in retirement. The question of whether your Social Security income is taxable is one that comes up constantly. Here is how it works under current law. Social Security benefits can be taxable at the federal level, depending on your combined income, which the IRS defines as your adjusted gross income, plus any non-taxable interest, plus 50% of your Social Security benefits. If that combined income exceeds certain thresholds, a portion of your benefits becomes taxable. However, the new $6,000 Senior Bonus Deduction indirectly helps here too, because by reducing your overall taxable income, it can also reduce the portion of your Social Security that is subject to tax. For many retirees, this creates a kind of double benefit. And while there is ongoing legislative discussion in Congress about potentially eliminating federal taxes on Social Security benefits entirely, a proposal known as the You Earned It, You Keep It Act. As of today, March 2026, that bill has not yet been passed into law, so we should not count on it for this filing season. Now let me talk about something that is especially important for our community here on Immigration News Today. The question of immigrant seniors and how these changes apply to you. If you are a lawful permanent resident, a naturalized U.S. citizen, or another eligible resident who is 65 or older and filing a federal tax return, these new provisions apply to you in exactly the same way they apply to anyone else meeting the eligibility criteria. Your immigration background does not affect your ability to claim this deduction, provided you meet the age and income requirements. If you have a valid Social Security number and are required to file a federal return, you are entitled to every deduction and benefit that the law provides. Do not let uncertainty or confusion about your status cause you to leave money on the table. When in doubt, the right move is always to consult with a qualified tax professional who understands both your immigration situation and the tax code. So now the question becomes, how do you actually claim this deduction? The good news here is that the process has been kept straightforward by the IRS. If you are filing electronically, which the IRS strongly encourages, you will simply enter your date of birth when prompted, and any reputable tax software should automatically detect your eligibility and apply the Senior Bonus Deduction for you. This is one of those cases where technology genuinely works in your favor. If you are filing a paper return, you will need to use either Form 1040 or Form 1040-SR. The 1040-SR is a version specifically designed for taxpayers 65 and older, with larger print and a format that is easier to navigate. On a paper return, make sure you check the box indicating that you are 65 or older, enter your Social Security number accurately, and include your date of birth clearly. The IRS requires that the Social Security number of each qualifying individual be listed on the return to process the deduction correctly. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Tax preparation can feel overwhelming, especially if English is not your first language, if you are new to the U.S. tax system, or if your income comes from multiple sources like a pension, a part-time job, rental income, and Social Security all at once. The great news is that there are free resources available to help you. The IRS sponsors a program called VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, which offers free tax preparation help to people who generally earn $67,000 or less, persons with disabilities, and limited English-speaking taxpayers. There is also the TCE program, Tax Counseling for the Elderly, which is specifically tailored for taxpayers who are 60 years of age or older, with a special focus on questions related to pensions and retirement income. To find a VITA or TCE site near you, You can use the VITA locator tool on the IRS website at irs.gov, or you can call 1-800-906-9887. Additionally, the AARP Foundation runs a tax-aid program with thousands of locations in libraries, community centers, malls, and senior centers across the country. You can reach AARP Tax-Aide by visiting aarp.org Tax-Aide or calling 888 AARP now. There's also the IRS Free File Program, which allows taxpayers who earned less than $89,000 in 2025 to use guided tax software for free through a partnership between the IRS and several tax preparation companies. You can access this at irs.gov free file. All of these resources exist specifically to help people like you, and there is absolutely no shame in using them. In fact, using them is one of the smartest things you can do to make sure your return is accurate, complete, and takes full advantage of every benefit you are entitled to. Let me also share a few practical things you should do right now to get organized before you file. Start by gathering all of your income documents. This includes any W-2 forms if you have wage income, 1099 forms if you received retirement distributions or investment income, and your SSA 1099, which is the Social Security benefit statement showing how much you received from Social Security in 2025. If you need a replacement SSA 1099, you can get one quickly and easily through the Social Security Administration's website at ssa.gov by creating a free My Social Security account. Also, gather records of any deductible expenses you may have, such as medical and dental bills, property tax statements, charitable donation receipts, and mortgage interest statements. Even if you plan to take the standard deduction rather than itemizing, it is worth knowing what your totals look like, because for some taxpayers, particularly those with high medical expenses, itemizing might still result in a lower tax bill. The combined standard deduction, extra senior deduction, and the new bonus deduction for a single filer 65 or older amounts to roughly $24,000 for 2025. That is a high bar, but worth checking against your actual expenses. One more thing I want to address before we close out today's discussion, and this is something I hear concern about quite often in our community. What about people who have never filed taxes before, or who have not filed in recent years? Perhaps you recently became eligible to work in the United States, recently became a permanent resident, or simply were not aware that you had a filing obligation. If your gross income for the year is below the filing threshold for your age and filing status, you may not be required to file at all. However, if taxes were withheld from your income during the year, filing a return may actually result in a refund, money that is owed to you and that you will not receive unless you file. So it is always worth checking. The IRS Interactive Tax Assistant tool, available at irs.gov, can walk you through questions about whether you are required to file, and it is free to use. I also want to make a brief mention of one additional change that came in as part of the updated standard deduction amounts for the 2026 filing season. For seniors who are filing returns for the 2026 tax year, meaning the return you will file in early 2027, the extra standard deduction is increasing slightly. Single filers and heads of household who are 65 and older will see the additional standard deduction go from $2,000 to $2,050. For married couples, each qualifying spouse's extra deduction increases from $1,600 to $1,650. These are modest increases tied to inflation, but they compound meaningfully over time, especially when stacked with the new Senior Bonus Deduction, which is confirmed to remain in effect through the 2028 tax year. I want to close today by saying something directly to you, because I know that navigating any system, whether it is the immigration system or the tax system, can feel lonely and confusing, especially when the stakes are high. You have worked hard. Many of you have built lives in this country from nothing, raised families, paid taxes your entire career, and you deserve every benefit the law makes available to you. The IRS is not your adversary here. This season, they have published unusually detailed and accessible guidance for seniors, and they genuinely want eligible filers to take advantage of these new provisions. My job, And the job of this channel is to make sure that information reaches you in a language and format that you can actually use. Please remember, this content is for informational purposes only and is not legal or financial advice. Tax law is complex, and your individual situation, your income sources, your filing status, your residency history, all of these factors affect how the rules apply to you specifically. Before filing, I strongly encourage you to consult with a qualified tax professional or use one of the free assistance programs I mentioned today. And always verify the latest guidance directly through the IRS at irs.gov, where you will find the official Senior Filing Season Updates page, the One Big Beautiful Bill Provisions page, and the Free File program. If today's video was helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up. That small action makes a huge difference in helping us reach more people in our community who need this information. And if you know a senior, a retiree, a parent, or a neighbor who could benefit from knowing about these new IRS changes, please share this video with them today. Every share could mean hundreds of dollars saved for someone who deserves it. Make sure you are subscribed to Immigration News Today with the bell notification turned on, so you never miss an update on tax changes, immigration policy shifts, or any new development that affects your life here in the United States. Check the video description for links to IRS Gov resources, the VITA locator tool, AARP Tax-Aide, and the official One Big Beautiful Bill guidance page. This is Immigration News Today. We are here for you, informed, accurate, and always on your side. Take care of yourselves, file on time, and we will see you in the next video.